Oh, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Elisa Maria Designs. I am Elisa Maria. It is Self Care Sunday. Yay, Self Care Sunday. I was a little startled. Okay, so let me tell you first, I'm going to have more than one finish this week. Oh my God, I can't believe it. I'm going to be finishing Night's Rest. And last night, I decided to sit down with Rico. So Rico is another canvas like I put away. I had no storage containers. All I had was the top of a shoebox lid, and that's what I'm working out of. And I was working pretty diligently last night. And oh gosh, my air is on. My air is on. I have to go shut it off. Give me a couple more seconds. I made a green tea matcha with soy milk and a rose cream on top. If anybody wants the recipe, let me know and I'll type it in the comments. Maybe I'll just type it and pin it in the comments. Okay, just 2 more seconds with my air on. Now I can shut it up. Okay, it's cool in here. I'm just running because we're going to the shore. Like I told you yesterday, we're going to go to docks for some seafood. We go to the happy hour. So my desk is a mess, which is why I'm not pointing the camera down just now, but I will. So I was up last night and I was just in the groove and I was really banging this out. I found missing drills in my own stash, which was just lovely to find 2 colors. I was like, oh, I'm not going to get this done. But I was like, let me go. I put my stash in order last week. I put everything, the rounds with the rounds, the squares with the squares, everything in DMC code order. So I was able to find 823939 and even one of the AB drills. Because let me tell you something about Rico. Rico is a AB drill lover dream. Okay. So I'm going to show you the top of him because I intend to do a finish. And this is all that is left of him. A couple of drills here. This I have to hunt. This color I can't find. Maybe I have it downstairs. If I have to rip it out of another kit, I will. And what else? Ba, 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 ba. Yes, I fell asleep in my Amity shirt. And I'm up this morning getting this done very quickly before I shower and get ready for the shore. Okay, so there's just a few more, and in here, I no, maybe it's in here. Shouldn't stick my finger in there. I had to put just a little bit of I use Star Ore. They give you like 2, 4, it is 7 capsules they give you so that your glue doesn't dry out, because I've bought glue and it dries out because, you don't get to it in time. So this, you open it when you need it. And there's a lot in one little capsule, so I have to get that in there. So I'm going to be working on, maybe I'm going to put the ABs in the 4s. Now, it was pretty warm in here last night, so I'm wondering, did everything melt? Oh, okay. Let's see. What don't I need here? Let's put this here. So Self Care Sunday. So I fly by the seat of my pants, and I, start where I am. I'm a yoga teacher also, and that's always been the way that or at least the way that I was trained, the way that we do things. You start where you are. You teach what you know. You teach from where you are at. And it's interesting because I've changed my lives to Tuesdays at 7 p.m. And this Tuesday, I took a yoga class with my teacher during the week. If you want to take a class with her, you can do that online. If you want that information, I'll give it to you. So I took a class with Felicia, and I dropped my things on the floor. I've not been to not physical. I've not been to a class where I'm not teaching myself, okay? I know what to do, I know what not to do. But I had said to Felicia, I came this close last Tuesday to being in your physical classroom. And I'm coming, are you teaching every Tuesday? She's teaching at our old yoga home. yoga and she said yes. But I surprised her on Thursday and went to her Zoom, and we got to chat, very, very, very briefly, because, classes start on time, they end on time, and we chatted a little bit afterward. And I said, I'm coming on Tuesday. So she does a yin and a restorative class. So I'm going to be there from like 9:30 in the morning till almost noon doing yoga. Now, I was trained in yin by Karina Benner, and you can look her up on YouTube. And then I did a second training with Felicia. This is all going to tie into Self-Care Sunday. I can tell you right now. That's why I'm telling you now. I never know what I'm going to say, but I say whatever is coming to me, because it's all going to be coming full circle. So I did my formal training, vinyasa training with Karina, and then took yin as a second training, and then trained again with Felicia. And then the heck did I do with Karen Sapphire? I have no idea. Restorative maybe? And then I trained with Felicia for restorative, and maybe even, I don't know what the heck I did with Karen Sapphire. What the heck was I doing with her? I can't remember, but I went to all these trainings. Anyway, but many moons ago, not too many, but that's part of the training. That's part of the Self-Care Sunday. So let me tell you what I mean. Because, well, let me tell you that when I went to Felicia's yin class, Felicia is who introduced me to this book. And when I was taking all these trainings, I was still a student. And I was checking into one of Felicia's classes, and Felicia said, "You're a yoga teacher, you just don't know it yet." And I didn't know that she was talking to me. I kind of looked over my shoulder. There was nobody behind me. I was like, "Are you talking to me?" And she's like, "Yeah, you don't know it yet." And I'm like, "No, that ship has sailed." And here we are. Here we are. Put these over here, make room on my desk. And I have been thinking a lot about, John had the show during the week, and John gets a little, he's very anxious when he has something to do, and he kind of like, I'm very chill. I'm especially chill ever since I've been doing my dose. This is dose. It's a mushroom coffee. This is the matcha. I love it. And I'm not chill where I'm aware that I'm chill. I'm chill when everybody else is going crazy. And I'm just like, this too shall pass. Maybe it's me talking to Jesus in the morning too. Who knows? But I do feel the effects of this too. I feel the effects of Jesus also. So, John, he will, to me, he will over rehearse. I'm like, you're making yourself crazy. You're fine. Everybody loves you. You're gonna have a great show. Don't stress out. Just enjoy it. And I got a big set list, and he did. He had a beginning, a middle, and an end set list. And his end set list, he had 12 songs on there. I think he only did about 4, because that's the way that the night went so easy. They were so chill. They were so relaxed. Some venues that you go to, like they give you a 10-minute break, like a 10-minute break is a 10-minute break. You got to get back to singing. They were so chill, so relaxed. His friends were there. It went by like that. So I said to him, what we were talking about, balance, like balancing things in our life, because he's still talking in retirement about, well, today is a good opportunity. Today's a good thing. Like, he's like, I want to do more trips to docks in Atlantic City. I'm going to Atlantic City. I don't care if you come with me or not. I'm going to be going multiple times during the week. I'm like, you better calm down. Because he was being a little like, this is what I'm doing. This is what I want to do. And I was like, you better calm down. And he's like, no, this is what I want to do. I'm like, I get it. We're not even there today. This was yesterday. We were going to go yesterday. I'm like, we're not even there today. You're already talking about, you're going to be spending time on the beach. You're going to be singing with your guitar. Go ahead, go. I'm not really sit on the beach for hours type of a person. I'll go to the beach, but I'm not sitting there for hours. I'm not sitting there from early in the morning and waiting for docks to open and go stand in line for an hour. Because we have to get there, and we have to stand in line to get a place for the happy hour, which is like completely awesome. So, you know, you stand in line and you wait to get in. But I'm like, you better calm. Like, he gets like overly anxious. And even me telling him to calm down, I'm still so freaking chill about it. And I'm sure that's annoying him that I'm not getting as like crazy as him. Like, you want to go to the shore? We'll go to the shore, but I'm not sitting there all day long on the beach. I got things to do. You know, but we'll go. So he gets a little like, he spins. And, you know, when I took my class on Tuesday, you know, it's just like, I think if you, well, I believe that I may have missed a lot of my yoga classes that I would have liked to have gone to, but I know I'm at the one that I need to hear something. And what did Felicia talk about? Balance. And I wanted to stop in the middle of the class and put my little microphone on and be like, oh my God, I can't believe you're talking about this. You know? And I meant to type her something after. I'm like, I'll type her after. And I'll type her after. I'll send her a letter after and tell her like how much her class hit home with me. So let me see what's going on here because I'm curious. Today is June 22nd. Oh, I really like that. I am because you are because I am, a deep African way of being. This is what I love about this book. He pulls from so many different sources. It could be, you know, just a different way of thinking, a different perspective. So I was going by that and I'm thinking, maybe I should read that. Okay, no, let's see. Okay. Spiritual fishing, June 22nd. Oh, honesty is the net by which we fish the deep. Honesty is the net by which we fish the deep. I think truth is like that. Sometimes we fish for the truth. Well, I used to. And then, you know, I told you guys once before, I've been saying this one thing from when I was little, that the truth loves me. I don't know where I got it from. I don't know where I heard it from. I know that I just loved when I heard it. And the truth loves me. And I have always said that. And with that little mantra that I had created for myself, I found a peace in never really having to explain myself. You know how people sometimes, you know, you might be in a situation where you're constantly defending yourself and, you know, people don't, you know, people have already made up their mind whether they're going to believe you or not. So stop. Like, just stop. I see it today and I'm just like, you know, I believe you because I think that when you love the truth and you know when people are telling the truth. And like, I've been in situations with my friends where they're just like so upset because there's a hair in the egg. You know, you are like a yolk. You know, there's a hair in your egg and they're upsetting the people around you, or they're pointing the finger, they're making you the scapegoat. And I would just be like, stop explaining. Because these people are going to burn out really quickly. They cause a lot of damage, but then they burn out really, really quickly. And just stand in your truth. You know that you're telling the truth. So tell your truth once and walk away. Stop explaining. So honesty is the net by which we fish deep. Okay, let's take a look at Rico. Let's get him ready. That's what we're going to be. Oh my gosh, isn't he gorgeous? Now, I've seen other birds through this same company, and I have my phone plugged in. Let's get this here. Okay, and I think that he's the prettiest. They have the parrot. That's pretty. But Rico, like I said, when I do the finish on this, I'm going to show you the whole thing because I'm going to be finishing him. He's going to be a finish for this week. So, okay, let's leave this here. Let me get my... Oh, this is what happens when the book is so old, it'll actually lay flat. Let me get out what I need here. So I was up and Lizette sent me a message. And I was like, oh my God, if Lizette's up, she's having her morning coffee, and it's it's daytime where she is. I should be in bed. What do I want? Which one do I want? Let me see. And I looked and I said, oh my God, I think I came up at around 10 o'clock and it was 1:30 in the morning. So I really banged out a lot of this. You can see how little I have left to do. This is what's left of this color. So, we both made the same, well, I wouldn't say that I made a mistake. I made the choice to download my chapter 6, book 2 of Jaws last night. I made the choice to not let it wait until midnight for my members. I just put it up. I thought it was a great chapter. I thought we had a great discussion. And let me see there we go. And it was a lull of a chapter, but it had a big impact. It had a big impact on me, and I thought about why. I think because I don't know how I feel about. I don't have an opinion on one of these characters, and I think, I know that she's hiding something. There's more to her, and I just find her to be, very empty. And I guess also because the character is Brody's wife. We didn't see this in the movie. Her past was cut out of the movie. Of course it was. It hit the floor. It wasn't important to eventually to put it in the movie, but it is a big part of the book. So I was like, oh, I gotta go to bed. It's 1:30 in the morning, and I went. I turned the light out, but I was like, I could have sat here and probably finished this last night, and then I went right into Self-Care Sunday, which is why I'm still in my Amity shirt. Oh, okay. So when I was in, let me tell you a little bit about my yoga home. When I was in New York, I've always loved yoga, but I never took a class because I never felt like I never felt good after the class, and I never felt good, probably because the people that I was taking classes with were not properly trained. And there was a yoga studio like right near my restaurant in Philadelphia, and every time I walked in, I just found everybody to be so like pretentious and very catty. When you hear a staff talking about people, it's they're talking about you too when you leave. You know what I mean? They're sitting around, they're talking about customers and stuff. So I was like, this is a yoga studio. But anyway, I left New York, and I was coming back to live in Philly. I was coming back alone. And I opened and closed my cafe on its 1-year anniversary. And I just felt like I was going through a lot of pain that was unnecessary, because had I listened to myself, I would have never opened up my cafe. I knew it was a mistake. I walked away from it 3 times. For as much as I wanted a cafe from when I was maybe about 16 years old, for as much as I wanted a cafe, I knew that what I was doing was wrong. I had so many signs hitting me in the face that this was a mistake. And I went ahead and I did it anyway out of fear. I did it anyway out of fear. And I remember leaving New York the night before, and my girlfriend, Debbie, who was my neighbor, was one of the first people that I met when I moved into Sullivan Street. I moved out of Battery Park City, and I moved into Sullivan Street in the Village, right above the cafe, and Debbie was my neighbor, and she was a little burnt and jaded because she was coming out of a friendship where, she was totally taken advantage of. And when I told her my name, she literally walked away from me. And I later found out that was her old partner's name. And like, my name is not a name that you hear. When I said Elisa, she said to me, Elisa? I said, yes. And she turned around and walked away. And Debbie was funny like that. When I was leaving New York, she's like, "Why are you going? You have a few months left on your lease." It just like everything was out of my control. My ex-husband was calling all the shots, like he did with the cafe, which is, it was one thing that it was the wrong time to open. It was another thing that it was not my cafe. It was not my vision of my cafe and what I wanted. It was his vision, and you can't work someone else's vision. You can only work your own. So a lot of people were upset. A lot of my friends in New York were upset. I don't have a lot of people that I call friend, but when I do, they're my friends for life. I can call them for anything and pick up a conversation. Like we just talked to each other yesterday. And so it was upsetting on multiple levels. And so I came back. And even my little Yorkies were upset because they were very close to Debbie's dogs, and they were used to running in and out of each other's apartment in the morning. And me and Debbie would hang out I had a flat in my apartment that we would climb through the window, and we would sit out there with beach chairs. After I got done, I apprenticed with Debbie, and she does these fabulous weddings, and I learned a lot from her. And I would, apprentice with her during these, events that she had. And our boys were, she had two dogs, and I had Love and Honor. So it was upsetting on a lot of levels. I was grieving a lot when I left New York. I was grieving my business. I was grieving the fact that I came home alone. My ex-husband literally dropped me off with the boxes and turned around and went back to New York. Debbie wanted me to move in with her, but it never worked. I mean, it would have, because we were like Lucy and Ethel half the time. But we had, I'm thinking to myself, you, me, 4 dogs, like, there was like nowhere to, I think when we were living next door to each other, and we had, the doors open, and we could have walked into each other's apartment and got like a little breathing room, like, let me get out of my space, let me go in her space, let me climb out the window, let me go and sit on the flat. That was totally different. But all 4 of us, I'm talking me, her, and 4 dogs in a small, tiny apartment in New York. Would have never worked. It would have worked. It would have worked, but it would have been pressure. And didn't want to upset now maybe a possible friendship. And I did miss my home in Philly, and I wanted to get back to that, but Philly at the time was just dead. It was oh God, it had no pulse at all. And I went down to the Avenue, like I do. We call it the Avenue. It's East Passyunk Avenue, not West Passyunk Avenue. We go down to East Passyunk Avenue, and that's where we grew up at. If you're in Philadelphia, and you kind of grew up on the Ave, everything was there. Everything you could possibly need. It was a mall that was like a mile-long strip. And now everything is gone. It's gone. All the stores are closed. Everything's gone. This was... I opened up during the 2009 economic downturn. I knew it was a mistake, but I had a partner that was telling me, oh no, New York doesn't get affected by things like this. We're cryovac away from the rest of the world. You're going to be fine. You got a corner store. You're off of West Houston Street. You're going to be fine. Yeah. Anyway, I was walking kind of completely dazed. I remember coming home from New York. The night before, I did nothing but cry. We went out to dinner to say goodbye to friends, and my face, I didn't even care. I was so upset that I was leaving New York. I didn't want to go to New York. I thought New York was going to chew me up and spit me out. But I found, I had a different perspective all the way around, and it wasn't easy. I mean, the World Trade Center was right across the street from my original apartment in Battery Park. You looked out the window and you saw the World Trade Center. I was right on the West Side Highway on Rector Place. So if you're familiar with New York, you know exactly where I was. I was exactly across the street from the World Trade Center, and it was, yeah. I still can't believe I lived there. And the aftermath of what was going on afterward, the building, and there was a lot of post-traumatic stress to living there also, to looking out the window and replaying that terrible day in your mind over and over and over again. But I guess, that New York energy, New Yorkers just keep pushing forward. They don't dwell. They don't look back. And I guess I'm coming full circle too with the reading yesterday in Jaws. And I don't want to give anything away, but there's a character that, every time they think about the past, they get very depressed. And what I learned from New Yorkers is they just keep pushing forward. So maybe that's something, I don't know, that I like I said, I sit down and I talk, and I don't know what I'm about to say. I'm not scripted. I couldn't study a script and just talk to you guys from a script. I think that, my prayers always tell me where you want me to go, tell me what you want me to do, tell me what you want me to say, and to whom. That's a prayer from A Course in Miracles, and that's been with me for years. And so sometimes I don't know why I'm talking about what I'm talking about, but I can tell you it always comes full circle. So I came back, and I'm walking the Ave, and I see a yoga studio, and I'm like, wow, we got a yoga studio here? And every time I went, the door was closed, and you couldn't get in. And I'm like, they said that there's a yoga class here at 9 o'clock, and I'm here at 9 o'clock. Where the heck is everyone? Well, this was a yoga studio, and at 9 o'clock, the doors were closed. No one was coming in, no one was coming out, no one was sitting at a front desk to answer your questions. The doors were closed, and the room was behind another set of closed doors, so you really couldn't see what was going on. I'm like, maybe they closed? Well, I sat around and waited, because the next class was happening at 10:30 or 10:45 it would have been. And I see these people coming out, and I run in, and I'm like, hey, I've been, trying to, get information. They're like, oh, here's a schedule. And that was it. I walked in, I never left. And, like I was telling you about Felicia telling me, you're going to be, I just ate everything up in those classes that I took at Wake Up Yoga. I just never wanted to leave, because when I left, I didn't know what I was going to do. I felt still very lost, but I could tell you that why I was going in and never wanting to leave, because I would go into Shavasana after a 90-minute class, and I would just start crying. Then I started to really journal really hard about what is going on, and what was going on was that I was in a studio where the teachers were properly trained, and my one girlfriend put it together beautifully, because she was studying yoga at another studio, and she would practice at our studio. And she was like, Elisa, the way that the teachers teach here and the way that they put a class together, it's like a song. And I'm like, that's the most beautiful thing I've ever heard. And you're right, it is. It's like, when you just hear that favorite song of yours, that is the way this class, all the classes would unveil themselves to you. And I started to make a connection with the postures I was in. And, certain postures would hurt me so much. It would feel like somebody was cracking my chest open. And then I learned that they were heart opening poses. So I was without really knowing what I was doing and just doing yoga, they were having an effect on me. Going into a heart opening posture and feeling like it was so tight in here. But it felt good to stretch open this part of myself, because I was very closed off, and I was kind of like this all the time. Hands crossed in front of me, shoulders hunched down. I was protecting myself from a lot that went on in New York, a lot that I came home with. So I started to take more and more classes, and that's when Felicia said to me, you're a yoga teacher, you just don't know it yet. She was right. So that's a little bit about my time at Wake Up Yoga, and a tiny bit, gosh, I loved being there. I loved being there. And it got me through. It was the modality that I used to work through everything that I had left behind, everything that had happened in New York. And I believe that that was probably the beginning of the end of my previous marriage. The thought was there, because I had no support. And not only no support, no interest either in, well, what the hell's going on with you? Like, that would have been nice just to ask me what the hell was going on with me, but there just was, never a moment where my partner had said, what's going on with you? What can I do to help? Why are you so upset? How do we get you over this? Like, this is what you do. You step up and you're there for your partner. And I didn't have that support. I had a yoga studio, and that was fine by me because I took care of myself, and I I found what I needed. And I think in a way it also became a problem, like that I was at this studio, but you do what you do. I see I missed a few over here. So and again, talking about balance, I think I got a little crazy in the beginning with all the yoga classes, and I took all these, every time Karina had somebody at the studio that I could have got certified in something, I did it. I did it. Certified in breath work, certified in meditation, because it was a way for me to be out of the house. And if I wasn't there, I was at the art studio. I was at Fleischer's, and I was doing art. So, and I was trying to carve a job out for myself in our business, which he was still running in New York, a restaurant in New York. And I was trying to, because it was our business, I wanted to have an interest in it, and I wanted to be a part of it. And I carved out a job for myself where I became media manager and did all the graphic design work, all anything that had to be published or stuff like that. That's what I did, much to like nobody's interest, because they just thought, well, this is who we are. Like, we really don't need a PR person. In the meantime, I haven't heard anything about the restaurant that's the first pizzeria in the United States in the 5 years that I've been gone out of that job. So like everything that I did was always like, it's just something to keep her busy, Okay. Met a lot of people, met with a lot of influencers, got our name out there. I know what I did. I don't have to go into what I did. I was the media manager, but I just wasn't, But I'm proud of the work ethic that I have, and, I could have just lived a very comfortable life. I could have just been like, hey, you know what? I'm going on a cruise with my friends or whatever. See you later. That wasn't me. I wouldn't have been able to enjoy that kind of life anyway. So I just wanted to be a contributor to this history in this this institution that was part of my ex-husband's family. I didn't want to be a wife that just goes out and lunches and suntans herself and all that other stuff. So to say that I was heartbroken when I came back and not knowing what to do with myself is an understatement. Oh, am I going to have enough in here? Oh yeah, I have more. All of a sudden I wandered into here. I thought it was just a couple that were missing in here, but it actually was a lead up to a bigger section. Okay, so any other ones that are missing here? Yep, there's one. So many beautiful shades of blue in this canvas too. Beautiful shades of pink. And like I said, so many A-B drills. So many A-B drills. Really a beautiful canvas. And even the way that I'm working this, I don't even know how I was working. Oh, I remember what happened. How could I forget? I dropped two different color AB drills on the floor. Because they were right next to each other, I had them in the same tray with a separator, and they fell all over the floor, and they were very close in shade. And I think at that point I just gave up. I was like, I have to put this away. I have to start something else. And that's the way, just the way Elisa Marie's designs found her footing. It was like, if something is not working, well then let's just move on to something else. It was kind of like that. Okay, let's see here. I'm glad that I filled these in, because these two colors are very close to one another, and you kind of get like a little blinded when you are looking at them, because these two colors are mixed together. This darker blue and this lighter blue, very subtle shade, are mixed together. And I was like, are you kidding me? No wonder why I gave up on this canvas and put it away. But, I stepped away. I learned a little bit more now about how to deal with these things. And here I am back again. So Felicia, when she was doing her class on Tuesday, her spiritual teacher is Pema Chodron. I don't know what book she was reading from, but I know she was reading Pema. And she was talking about balance. I don't know if the whole reading that she was doing was about that particular topic, but I can tell you that. Because when you're doing yin yoga, which is my favorite, you kind of begin to, everything becomes background noise. It's a very internal practice. It's a very calming practice. But you kind of just, I'm sure if you wanted to tune in to the reading, you could, and you absolutely could just pay attention to it if you have a hard time. I think the reading is something that Felicia does in case you are having a hard time with the posture, because you hold the posture for 3 to 5 minutes. So if she's giving you something to focus on while you are practicing. So, and it's interesting because the woman that, Wake Up Yoga closed during the pandemic, like a lot of businesses, including my own. And it's really sad because Karina had just opened up a second location. I don't know if this was her second or her third, or the original second one she let go of. I can't remember, but she just opened that second location, and it was, to put so much work into a business and then just, you have no control over it closing. Oh gosh. Oh, see, here, these are the two that are mixed together. Oh, yippee. Here we go. Here we go. So I know, well, I'm going to be diamond painting two different colors together because they're right next to each other. That's how I work that now. Before at the time that I did this, I was trying to separate these two very delicate colors that I could see really well under my art light. But at the time I couldn't see. Like I said, you learn new tricks. So the Wake Up Yoga studio closed, and one of my students bought it. And I remember her taking my class and her saying, I'm very type A. I really can't sit still but I enjoy her class. I enjoy it. She did it once. And then here you go. She's now the owner. I have talked to her like right after she opened. It was still like really fresh after the pandemic. She asked me to come back and teach, but it just at the time didn't feel right to me right after the studio had closed. And she kept that studio afloat. I don't know how she's doing it. I really don't know how. Let me move my light over so I'm not in your way. But she's doing it. She did it. Oh, here we go. That's better. So I'm going to be taking my first class there ever since it's been the new studio. And it's been the new studio, I would say, since 2020. I don't think the doors ever officially closed. I think she went in and just started teaching. Yeah. And I think too, what makes it even extra hard is that I never taught yoga online because I was very hands-on. So I never wanted to teach online. But now I feel like people are used to it, and only because they know us as Wake Up Yoga teachers, and they know that we're properly trained and that you're going to get a full experience anyway. So they've adapted to doing yoga in the comfort of their own home, which I find sad. I think there's just something to walking in a studio and leaving the world and getting out of your own world, not doing yoga at home, getting out of your own world and coming to a studio and, being in that type of energy with other people in your community and, maybe there's a smell of incense. Maybe the studio has a certain, like I used to go to one studio and they constantly, well, they named their studio Palo Santo, and I know the two owners. I've known them before they were even married. When you walked into their studio, it smelled like Palo Santo, and they did a lot of training in India, and so they brought that essence of India home with them, and you would walk into their studio and it would be like, oh, you would just feel yourself exhale, like, oh, it smells wonderful in here. And I felt like that when I walked into Wake Up Yoga all the time. I felt like, oh God, I'm so happy to be here. So I really never got into let me teach online. But I was actually thinking about doing something with Awaken with Elisa. I don't know. We'll see. I'll see. Maybe I can go over to the studio. I don't know. Maybe I will teach a class there. Maybe I will film it. I don't know. Like I said, if it's right, I'll know it. Seat of my pants kind of girl. If it's right, I'll know it's right. Anyway, I think we should get to this reading and see what this is about. I do a little talk first because that's just the way that I find that what I am talking about, which I don't know what I'm going to be talking about, it's the way that I find that in some way it blends into this reading. So let's see what this says here. Honesty is the net by which we fish the deep. Though we are taught to make plans and to keep them. Now, you all know that ain't me. And though we work our way through pre-designed courses of study to receive credentials and degrees, our attempts at real living don't happen this way. Well, that's a great observation of why not to plan, because real life doesn't happen that way. Oh gosh, I guess that's where make plans and God laughs comes from. Let me get these couple of guys in here. I like to think about it, and I like to read it and then think about it, let it marinate for a minute. Okay. For me, finding where I fit in the world feels a lot like spiritual fishing. The vast, mysterious ocean of experience keeps calling, and whether it is by buckets of question or nets of honesty, I keep hauling up food from the days. I keep hauling in shells and pearls and seaweed from a common depth that no one can see, and then I spend time cleaning what I found and hearing what it has to say. Ooh, one of my mentors, my girlfriend Denise, anytime I was confused, would say, Elisa, go sit with yourself. Just go sit and listen. So re-examining the depth of the ocean that is your life, re-examining it, pulling it back out. And like a lot of, I think that a lot of things that I did in my life, I don't know why I did them. You know, why did I want to take this course? Why did I want to go to this place? It's a calling. I guess that would be the only way to explain it. It's a calling, and you don't know why, but you do it anyway. Well, let me just talk from my own experience. If you're like me, I don't have to understand everything all the time. I know that it's going to unveil itself to me. Maybe not right away, maybe right away, maybe not right away. But yeah. So I kind of like that analogy that he has of just sitting and wondering, you know, looking at the stuff. Does he throw anything away? I keep hauling in shells and pearls and seaweed from a common depth that no one can see, and then I spend time cleaning what I found and hearing what it has to say. In this way, everyone alive must fish, and this requires stillness and patience and a willingness to drift. In this way, everyone alive must fish, and this requires stillness and patience and a willingness to drift. Okay. Oh, okay. So there now, my friend Renee, who I introduced you to, who has the cafe, and he'll always say, "Make it happen." But I heard, "Let it happen." I heard, "Let it happen" when I read that. And yes, you do have to. Him saying, "Make it happen" is another way of create the world that you want to live in. I think things are going to happen the way that they're going to happen. I think you might be able to steer the ship a little bit with plans and stuff, but I mean, just take a look at any bride, you know, talking about my friend Debbie who did all the weddings, you know, take a look at any bride. Nothing ever turns out the way that they planned. Well, some of it does, of course it does, but I think, and then if you go and you talk to the bride that planned and planned and planned, what is the best part of her wedding is the one that she never expected, the one that she didn't plan for, the things that happened that you just couldn't plan. And I don't know, I think that there were times where, like John had described me in our commentary yesterday, as he said, there's an aloofness about my wife, and I know that there is, and I know that sometimes it makes me seem flippant or like, well, what's wrong with this girl? You know, don't you want to have more of an input in this or that? And I'm like, what's going to happen is going to happen, and it might be airy, but see, to me, it's not. To me, it's just like a knowing of like, I think that I am very aware of time. That's where my anxiety comes in at, with time, and I'm very. I don't like anyone telling me what I have to do with my time. It's my time. You know, John and I was doing a lot of work here in the office, in my little art room. Sometimes I do call it an office because that's what it feels like. And I was doing a lot of work. I'm trying to get my Discord up. So this is like the behind the scenes with Elisa Marie Designs. This is what you see in front. And he called me, and he called me from downstairs, and he said, "Are you ever coming down?" And I was like, "Yeah, all right, I'll come down." I didn't eat. I didn't see my husband for like 4 hours. And I said, do you want to take a walk? And he said, yes. And I said, okay, well, I really wasn't done what I wanted to do, but I was like, you have to have some kind of balance here. Okay, you're just too much in this room. And what is balance? And this is something that came up in Felicia's class. It's 50-50 balance. And it made me think, is 50-50 balance? Does that formula work out for everyone? Maybe that doesn't feel like balance to you. Maybe 60-40 feels like a good balance to you. 70-30, 20-80, I think we all have to find our own scales that balance out. But then I got ready. I came downstairs and we were going to take a walk. And he took a phone call. And I was like, just tell him to call you back. It was CVS Caremark. They wanted to know about, the service. And I'm like, he's like, well, I do have a couple of questions. Now, you could have said to this person, because no one's talking to her, they usually hang up. You could have said, I am getting ready to go into a meeting right now. Can you call me back? Because I do have a couple of questions about CVS Caremark that I want to go over with you, but I can't do it right now. Especially when you called me down. I got ready, and now you want to. He put the recliner back in the chair, and I'm standing there waiting for him to go, and I'm like, walked out the door. He called me I was 2 blocks away. He's like, where are you? I said, I'm walking. You went without me? I went, yeah, because this is my time. This is my minute, and I'm not spending my time watching you take a phone call. So, sorry. This is where I push back at, and this is where my anxiety lies. It lies in time. That's where I get thrown off. That's where I'm scheduled, I would say. I don't like anybody scheduling my time. I don't like doing things I don't want to do, because there's always something that I could be doing that is going to bring me joy. So why would I want to be in this environment where, I just don't want to be, I don't want to sit on the beach for hours. That's not joy to me. I could maybe find something else to do, but I'm in Atlantic City, and I'm just not really comfortable being in Atlantic City by myself in that area. I'm not going to go to a casino. There's not anything to play off what he wants to do and what I want to do. And I think it's a good thing when you are in a relationship that you have separate interests and that you go your own way, because when you come back together, you are rediscovering each other. And what did you do? What did you do? And you can hear about each other's day. You didn't live it with each other. And sometimes, I know a few women that are doing things, let's just talk about music, okay? They don't want to go to these gigs. I look at them and they look exhausted. Why are you following your boyfriend or your husband around when he's got a gig? It's nice to be there, but John went to the venue at 3:00 because he's in Irvine, and he had to set up and he had to test the equipment, and then he sat around for an hour and he relaxed. I think he maybe even had I don't think he had anything to eat, but he relaxed into that hour before he was going to perform. I'm not sitting there with him, and I'm not going there at 5:00. I listen to his set list every single day. And I went at 6:30 because I was getting ready for my live, and that was enough time. I had the house to myself to be quiet and not worry about ignoring my husband, and he had his thing to do. And then after, he filled me in on all the things that I missed, and after I filled him in on what Fufi was doing at home while he knew I was going out. No, yeah, it's just I think it's good to have separate interests. I don't know if that's where I was going with all this, but let me see what this next paragraph says. So, in this way, everyone alive must fish, and this requires stillness and patience and a willingness to drift, for we never know where deep things live. And that to me is what yin is like. When you are in a yin class and you are holding a posture, and I've said this before, things come up and I'm like, am I really holding on to this shit? This happened in 4th grade. And is this really still in my, where did that come from? And that's what yin is like. You are, you know, um, I always talk in terms of like architecture, because I think of your body as like architecture. You are excavating these uh, these things that hide in your body, and they do hide. They hide in it like just like an English muffin. They seep into those little nooks and crannies, and especially when it comes to the heart. And this is why yoga affected me the way that it did. That when I was in these heart opening postures, the things that were very raw were right on the surface, but the things that I didn't want to deal with were pushed all the way to the back. And in opening up this part of my body and not unconsciously shielding myself, even though I didn't know what I was doing, I was consciously going into this movement, and it was like, oh my God, this hurts so bad. It was all the stuff that I was pushing behind in the back of my heart. And that when I would finally come into Shavasana, which is a time for you to come into your corpse pose and you let everything, the way that I would teach it is like you let everything fall. Your mat is a sacred place. Your mat is where your blood, sweat, and tears are. This is my analogy of it. And I would really just let my bones fall to the mat and let everything rise up, and then let everything come together. And then this is where I would begin to cry, because that's where the deep things were living. That's where these things were living, in the deep, and they were being twisted. Twists were hard for me, not as much as heart openers. Forward bends, and everything's done on the floor. You're not standing on your 2 feet. You're forward bending in a seated position. But when you think about it, when you forward bend, your back is exposed. You're opening up the spine. And what is living in between the spine? I can go down a road. Maybe I should start teaching again. Okay. Even our effort to know ourselves resembles this process, for much of who we are lives cleanly below the surface. And we each must be nourished from what lives below if we are to survive. Well, I just explained all that. If you're walking around with these, whatever it is that you've hidden, and you will forget. And that's another thing that came up for me this week in my own yin practice, was this topic of remembering and forgetting is one that just lingers with me. You can't forget what you didn't know. You can't remember what you didn't know. But I think that we are forgetting a lot more. And I think that we are forgetting a lot more because our minds were never made for this type of information that we are constantly being hit with, which is why people pick up their phone and they distract, because it's too much. The brain needs to settle. But what is it being settled with? It's being settled with not sitting with yourself, not sitting quietly, not allowing yourself to process. Because sometimes we don't even want to process what we've already seen because it's too much. It's too much. We're getting hit constantly with information. If you're on your phone is sending you notifications just in case you missed it. I'm sitting here and I'm filming and I'm seeing these like little banners go by me. There's someone at your door. It's the Ring doorbell. Here's an email that came in. You're just constantly bombarded. And no wonder why you're forgetting, because you are not giving yourself the time to process everything. And most of the things that you're trying to process don't matter anyway. And I think it was like maybe when I was in my 30s and I was living in Florida that I really began to notice I'm forgetting a lot of stuff. And you go down that road where you think that there's, well, especially when you're 30, your 20s are over, 30 is the rude awakening of you're an adult now, you know. Um, and I really started to say, oh my gosh, I just I'm forgetting things. I think I'm losing my mind. That's when anxiety started to set in for the first time. I'm like, what the hell is this? Why is my heart racing? And then that's where in your life too, really, where you're doing this deep dive, I think, when you're in your 30s. It was for me, where it was like, am I happy here? Do I want to live here? Do I want to go back to Philly? Am I a Catholic? Do I want to be in a relationship? Do I want to have a baby? Do I not want to have it? Like, you go through all these big life-changing questions, I think, if you didn't do it in your 20s. If you were like me, that was still flying by the seat of her pants, and still is. I don't know if I would have sat down and said, well, if you were going to plan your life, what would it look like? What would you have planned? Like for me, what would I have planned? Would I have planned on getting married? I don't think so. A lot of my friends got married right out of high school. I just never understood that. So that wasn't for me. But it's for some people, and I'm not knocking it. And I know a lot of my friends are, I shouldn't say a lot of my friends, a lot of people that I know, especially people that I went to school with, met in first grade, and they're married. They're still married. That's a beautiful thing, I think, when you find that lifelong partner at such a young age. Johnny's best friend, Johnny and Stella. Johnny's like, I was with Johnny when he met Stella. They were 14 years old, and they're going to be married now. I think, is it 40 years? And like, we're young, and like, you're already married. Wait, is it 40, 54? No, it's 45. Yeah, it's going to be 45 years that they're married. And I'm telling you, they got kids and all. They look like they're their brothers and sisters. So it's a beautiful thing when you find someone at that, time in your life, and you grow up together, and you're together. To me, I'm just gobsmacked by it. But I knew that wasn't for me. I always wanted to. Maybe I was just afraid. That could be it. I always say that I'm like a wanderer, and like I wanted to go out and I wanted to explore a lot of things, but maybe I was just afraid to make. That's why I don't have any tattoos. I couldn't make a commitment to having something on my body for the rest of my life. The whole time I'd be thinking, is this a mistake? But there are people that are dedicated to their art, and their body is an art, and that that they're very comfortable with not only being tattooed, but showing you their tattoos and explaining what it means and stuff. So I am godsmacked by those situations. I think it's beautiful to really know who you are when you're so young, that you could make such a commitment. Yeah, kind of got off the beaten path there again, and then I forget what the hell I'm talking about. This is more like a patchwork type of a thing that I'm doing here, because it's like Y arrow, Y arrow, Y arrow, Y arrow. So this is like a good practice for studying, for practicing your squares. If you have a canvas that moves kind of like this, where every other one or every two is the color that you're working on. Let me see here. Okay. But spiritual fishing yields, paradoxically, okay, I'm jumping ahead. Even our effort to know ourselves resembles this process, for much of who we are lives cleanly below the surface, and we each must be nourished from what lives below if we are to survive. We have to be nourished by what lives below, because I think that if you don't excavate these things, they just they make a home. And if there are things that you didn't work out, and maybe you put them on the side, like your diamond painting, like I put this on the side, it was too much for me. and you put things on the side that you can't deal with right now, but you don't take them back out. They I think that they linger, like these diamond paintings that I'm starting to finish now, is because, you know, I invested in this, and I enjoy this, and I hit a couple of bumps and I put it away, but it doesn't mean that I don't want to. There's something for me to learn here, and I'm learning it here in this book, and I'm making the connection. Like I said, I don't know why I say the things that I say, but sooner or later, you know, when I'm reading it, the connection, as an example, you can use your diamond paintings as an example of digging out what you buried in your stash closet and working on it, and maybe thinking about, well, what have I buried deep within myself that I've never really found the balance and feel okay about it. Paradoxically, our essential feelings and personal truths live below like fish, not wanting to be caught. Paradoxically, our essential feelings and personal truths live below like fish, not wanting to be caught. But spiritual fishing yields spiritual food, and the secret nourishment of eating what lives within us is that to eat what lives in our shell, we must open that shell. And eating what swims below our surface lets us see with the perspective of the deep. Eating what lives in our shell. I love the way he puts things. I love the way. I imagine that Mark was sitting on the beach, and much like I'm sitting here making connections to my diamond painting, he was sitting on the beach and he was making these connections to marine life. And what, you know, how many of us, I'll never forget this quote by Goldie Hawn. She was being interviewed, I don't know by who, and she was talking about her dad, and she was talking about how much she missed him and how proud he was of her. But he said, anytime you get too big for yourself, I want you to go out into the ocean, and I want you to look into it and realize how small you are. I never forgot that. So thank you, Goldie, for that. But how many of us, like I'm going to Atlantic City in a little while. We will be walking on the beach. Hopefully we'll be going to the beach, unless he decides he wants to make a U-turn and go somewhere else. I know he likes to go to the bookstore, and I like to go to the arts garage and check on my Snow White statue. You're not the right color, you don't go there. Okay. So, I mean, how many of us don't wonder when we go to the beach what lies below? What goes on down there? I mean, I think that's what made The Little Mermaid so popular. Under the sea. You know, we all had those fantasies of, like, especially if you were a little girl. My son was little, he wasn't a girl, but my niece was little, and I don't know any little girl didn't love Ariel. And, you know, you're just wondering, you know, I don't think that there's a calypso going on down there, but who knows? What do I know? But wonder what lies below, and equate it to your own life, and to have these moments of feeling connected spiritually, which is why I love Self-Care Sunday, which is why I love my time, like last night. That was like a spiritual practice for me, sitting here for hours and diamond painting, and time was flying by, and I couldn't tell you what I was thinking of, because I don't think that I was thinking of anything. I was thinking of, well, do I have enough drills in my tray? But then, you know, I got my little ruler out and I measured my tray. If you missed that video, had to do with how many drills are on your canvas if you didn't get a drill count, but how many drills are in your tray, you can figure that out too. And then I was able to relax into my diamond painting, not worry, am I going to run out? Am I going to run out? You know, am I going to run out? That's not what I was thinking about. I did that work and I put it on the side. I'm like, yeah, have enough drills in here to get through this section. Not a biggie. I couldn't tell you what I was thinking about, but again, going back to remembering and forgetting, I think that this is a time that I give my brain to look at something else, concentrate on something else, focus on something else. I think my time with yoga is the same thing. And, you know, excavating. Sometimes when I'm diamond painting, I have a moment where I'm like, well, where the hell did that come from? Why am I thinking about this? And it is like a meditation. It is like a yoga practice. It is, you know, my brain saying, oh, I have your attention. Well, I'm going to talk to you about this now. And doing this is not, and even in yoga, doing this and doing yoga is not where I'm going to say, I don't want to hear this right now, pick up my phone, because I'm enjoying what I'm doing. And I wouldn't pick up my phone in a yoga class anyway. I have to find another way to get away from myself. But I'd have to sit with it. I'd have to sit and be like, well, okay, well, I'm here. I made time. I made time again. This was on my schedule to do this, to be here. And now I'm not going to waste my most valuable currency and not take note of, well, what is going on here. And it's the same thing with diamond painting. If I am diamond painting, I am not about to stop what I'm doing. I'll just sit here and I'll keep going back and forth with this canvas, you know, and you know, thinking about, well, where is this coming from? You know, I might do what I'm doing right now. I'm not done with this color. Let's shift to another color. Sometimes that helps. Yeah, these are all the same color. Okay, these are not mixed. These are okay. I was getting tired of picking them out. Wanted to get them in. So, yeah, and I think that that's why these moments are so important. I don't think that you're losing your mind. You know, if you're at that stage right now where you're like, I think I'm going crazy, you know, I think I'm losing my mind, I forgot why I walked into the room, I never know where I put my stuff, where's my keys, I'm always late, it's because you're being bombarded with just too much, and you're not giving your mind the time to process, and you're doing the important things mindlessly, like me. Like my husband is just so, he thank God he finds it comical, where he's like, you know, I know when we have to go somewhere, I need to tell you that it's a half an hour to an hour earlier, because I know you're going to be running around the house not knowing what you did with anything. So I'm guilty of it too, but at least I sit down with it and I try and figure it out. And what do I have to do so that I'm not always looking for my handbag, my keys, my shoes, my wallet? I had to go to his show. I said, can you do me a favor? Can you call me an Uber? Because I can't find my wallet. And he's like, yep, okay. I'm like, I had it with me yesterday. I don't know where it is. You know where it was? I went to go to bed. I was diamond painting again late, and I went to go to bed, and there was stuff on the bed, and I took everything and I threw it in a shoebox that was empty, and I took the shoebox and I put the shoebox under the bed. Now, do you think I can know where my wallet is the next day? I have no idea. I was tired, you know, and I don't know. I don't know what I was doing. But you sit with yourself and you go, that was really crazy, and I wasted time. I need some balance. And that's why I said, you know, on YouTube, Fridays are so slow. Saturdays are like the same way. Like, my algorithm is slow. You guys are busy. You're doing your own thing. You work all week. You're doing your thing on a Saturday. A Sunday, you're running out to brunch. You're doing that stuff. I just think, you know, I said, you know, this might be a good opportunity for me to take some time to myself. If I take Friday off, and John's getting busier on the weekends with gigs, whether I go with him or not is not the point. But I need that time, because I'm not getting done what I need to get done with Discord, and that's on my mind. And maybe I could film my self-care Sunday, even though I like doing it the day of. The same way that I taught yoga, I never had a yoga script. Like, teachers will say, this is what I'm teaching this week, this is what I'm teaching about. And it's a curated yoga class where I'll get up and I tried that because that's how I was trained. What is the theme or topic that you're going to be talking about? It could be anything. And I'm like, I'm too I don't know that I could teach something. Like, I could practice the postures, but I can't practice the talk. But then again, your postures have to go with what it is that you want to hit on and how you want your students to feel in their body. But I just thought, and then there's another factor where you walk into a room and your students look like they fell off a high building, and they're like, I'm happy to be here, but I can't do much. I'm still tired. I had a big night out Saturday night. That could be it too. So I not only start where I am, but I start where they are too. So, yeah. I don't know. I think I have to stop going back and asking myself this question about, I know that I don't do things the way other people do things. I don't look over my shoulder at what anybody else is doing, because if I did, I would just stop my own creativity. So I have to I think because there's just such a stigma to not being scheduled and not being planned. And people are just like, how do you live your life that way where you don't know what you're doing? How do you walk into a yoga class and know what you're teaching? I don't know. I just know. I just know. How do you sit in front of Self-Care Sunday and just talk? Well, I just do. I just talk because I'm not hiding anything. I think that, whatever's shooting through this brain right now is coming out of my mouth. You guys seem to like it. So maybe I have more in common with people than I realize. Maybe that's why Self-Care Sunday, people so look forward to it, and people will comment and say, you gave me something to think about. I think that's the greatest compliment. And I had a few people in yoga, when I was teaching, tell me, I came to yoga, I didn't want to come, and I heard something and you said something, and I would always say, do you want to share? And if they didn't, that was fine, but they always did. And it was like the oddest thing that I said, that really sometimes would bring them to tears. But I don't know what's going on in your world. I don't know what you buried deep in your ocean. And it's the greatest compliment when someone says to you, you made me think. You made me see things differently. I love that. In truth, every person I have ever loved and every path I have been called to has shown itself to me after fishing in the waters of my spirit. Yes, and I said that. I don't know sometimes why I do the things that I do. I just know that they're going to come to fruition somewhere down the line. Which, entered deep enough, is the ocean of all spirit. I believe we are all connected there. And only by this communion of bringing up and taking in what lives within us can we hope to uncover our common purpose of being. In committing to this honest practice, wisdom becomes that very good net of mindful heart through which we rinse and claim the smallest of shells, those hidden casings that hold both food and pearls. Oof. Oof. Yes. Yes. All the things that we don't think that we understand at the time. You come back and then you have this clarity. And you have this sort of feeding, it goes into the belly, and the belly is its own mind, which is why sometimes you get that feeling in your belly. You get butterflies in the belly, you get that tension in your belly, and it becomes like that sixth sense. It becomes that wisdom. It becomes that net of knowing, from your life experiences. And like I just said, earlier too, like Renee says, make it happen. I say, create the world that you want to live in. So it becomes that food, how you interpret it. We're all really connected, and we're all just really saying the same thing. We're all, for all the paths, I think we all end up on the same path, eventually. So Mark says, find a stretch of running water and walk along its bank till you are called by it. Then reach into its moving clearness as if it were your own soul, and fish with your open hand for what it wants to give you. Whether it is a stone or a branch or a shell or a piece of refuse, bring it up and hold it fully in your hand. Now meditate and work with this living symbol. Listen for what it knows and how it knows. What nourishment is it offering you? I think that's a really great exercise, and I'm so grateful and thankful that I'm going to be in Atlantic City today, and I am going to take that walk on the beach, and I am going to take my shoes off, walk along the edge. And the last time I picked something up, I came home with a mammoth tooth. And like to just walk along the edge and scoop something up and see what you can find is so exciting to me to do that. I always say with these diamond paintings, when you're coming to the end, it's like, yes, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to finish. And I didn't finish. I must have here like 2 hours at least, and it doesn't look like it's that big of a section. I have here, then we're following this. This is all ABs, and then we're following this. And I guess while I am showing you my almost finishes that I'm going to finish this week, I should show you night's rest. Let me close this up here. I'm not surprised that I left my desk the way that I did. I usually don't leave my desk like this. I'm usually, I have to be ready for the morning, but I was in my zone yesterday, and I wish I knew what I was thinking about. I wasn't even thinking about Self-Care Sunday. Was I still thinking about the Jaws reading? No, because we sat with that after, and we do our commentary, and I think we processed that. But again, with remembering and forgetting, you can't forget anything that you didn't already know, and you're just remembering what you know. And you need to take the time to give your brain a break from all this stimulus that we are constantly bombarded by. And when not only did I walk out the door to go on my walk, because now he was taking a phone call, I went downstairs and it was so noisy, and I was just like, oh my God, I just want to go back upstairs where it was nice and quiet. And it was cool in my room, and it was quiet, and he's got the TV on, and he's strumming a guitar, and he's listening to whatever it is that's keeping him on. Is it a metronome? It's just like, his mind settles with a lot of diverse things going on at the same time. The doors open, you hear the noise of the traffic. He sleeps in noise. He needs to have the TV on. The light doesn't bother him. Where I come in and I'm like, no, we're going to close this all down now. And then I'll put Mark on from Dreamscapes. Hi, Mark. And I will, that's how I go to sleep at night. And I get a really, I don't know what's going on in my brain, but my brain likes it. And anything that I can do for my brain to allow it to be like, thank you for not assaulting me with any more work and information. And that's the other thing. I'm switching to my laptop because my laptop doesn't run a ticker parade in front of me like my phone does. So I am focused on what I'm doing. I'm very comfortable with my phone. My little Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra is amazing. It's like walking around with a computer. However, it likes to assault me with multiple things at one time, and my brain doesn't like it. So I'm really sitting down with my brain these days and asking it. Maybe it's the mushroom coffee. I don't know, but I'm really wanting to honor what a marvel it is, and give it what it needs to keep operating properly. Okay, let's take a look at Night's Rest. Because then I gotta get ready for Atlantic City. I hear him pacing. Oh, I'm stuck to my chair. But you love that she is. So, what do we have to do on her? Oh, that's it, right here. That's it. And that's basically 1 or 2 colors. And then she is getting sealed. And I'm probably going to discuss with you what my idea is for her. And if I could, look at that creasing in that gown. Oh, and if I could bring that to, let me show you again. She has got 5 clips on her. She is heavy. Beautiful. AB drills. This is from Rosa at the Diamond Painting Shop. Beautiful, beautiful canvas. And let me step back. And you could just see, the part in the fold of her dress. That's all that's left. I love the foot. I love how delicate it is. I love the hands. I look at the hands and the feet and the face. And this other one, this is my second Summer with the Masters. She's not as big, but just as beautiful. I love that. I love the moon. I love that one. But this one is big. She is big. She is big. Did I work out how many drills are on her? Was this the canvas that I used? Oh, she's 112,000 drills. Yes. So I will behold 112,000 in my hand when I put that one in. Yeah, I thought that she was a lot more than the Winter Fox. She's deceived. This one's deceiving. 107,000. And I don't get a count on my ones that I do from Diamond Arts Emporium. And you could see where I put the gold foiling on his crown. I still have to do his chest, and I have to finish his belt. But I think that I did a very good job at hiding that kind of obscene look that he had about himself with his belt. And I don't have a drill count on her either. So I'm going to work those out because I'm really curious as to what the drill count is on the angel also. Deep into the depths of my diamond painting. Thank you for being here. Have a beautiful self-care Sunday. I'm going to turn my air on and jump in the shower. And I will see you maybe in Atlantic City. Have a wonderful day. Bye.